Hey everybody, this is James Balsamo. Heads are gonna roll when you're listening to Without Your Head.
Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neil.
That would make me terrible, Troy.
Mm-hmm. And joining us here tonight is Scream Queen Debra Lamb. How are you doing tonight?
Good evening. I'm great, fellas. How are you doing?
Awesome now.
Yeah, things have picked up now. We have Debra on the line.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now you've been in.
How are you, Neil and Troy?
Excellent.
Yeah, all things are good.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Cold out here. We're on the East Coast. We have some snow on the ground. Probably a little different than where you are.
Yes. Actually, I hate to tell you this, but we've been having a bit of a heat wave the last few days.
Oh, envious.
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to rub it in. Sorry, guys.
Totally fine. So, you've been in a bazillion movies, but we do want to talk about one that's coming out, is The Litch. You play Sabella. Can you give us an idea of what The Litch is about?
Well, yes, I love that little movie. James Balsamo is a friend of mine, and he asked me to do his film, and I was more than happy to. And it was a really fun experience. And Kirsten Diebold was the producer, and I believe she was acting as the AD too. She was fantastic to work with also. And it was really fun. We actually did my scenes all in one day. And it was great. Let's see. We had a coven gathering, and we were casting spells. And my character runs into the Litch, and we reminisce about the old days. Yes, Sabella is Russian and an ancient Russian sorceress. And she and the Litch actually have a history together. So you'll get to see the fun scenes between me and the Litch.
Very cool. I did see you in costume, and it looked very cool. Like a lot of black and red candles, and
yes, I had my wardrobe was from Emmanuel Blanc. And she's a French designer, and she spent many years in India, but she's in the States now. And I had, not too long before I did the Litch, I had went to one of her private trunk shows and bought quite a few of her pieces. So all the things that I'm wearing in the Litch are, handmade from a designer, and yeah, so you can see me in some really fun costuming in that film.
Yeah,
that's pretty wild. Yeah.
See,
yeah.
You mentioned being friends with James Balsamo. How did you get to know him? Was it like through the conventions, or?
I did meet him at a convention, and I'm pretty picky about the conventions I go to. I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about any convention. I'm not saying that, but I haven't gone to that many, is what I'm trying to say. And so there was a convention I was at. It was I believe it was I think it was Chiller. It was Chiller back in, oh my goodness, like maybe 2014 or something. And here, let me see if I can figure it out. It was probably around, it was probably around 2012, 2013, somewhere around in there. And James was there. And I believe James is known for his guerrilla style shooting, right?
Right. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So he something about, would you like to be in my film? And I said, okay, what film? And he's like, I'm shooting it right now.
So that was the scene.
I wasn't working on whatever it was he was doing at the time, But just James is such a great personality, and I really enjoyed getting to know him a little bit during that convention. I think that's the only convention I actually did see him at, but just through Facebook and all of his happenings, and he just has all these fun films that he does, and so I've kind of kept up with him that way. And it was great working with Dave Stein, the Litch. I mean, Dave Stein played the Litch, and
right. He's not a Litch.
No, that was actually makeup. James had me come in. Let's see, it was a week or so ago before we shot, and he was doing this like mask of my face, and I guess he did masks of a lot of the characters in the Litch end up turning into some like gruesome thing, and so. Yeah, I had a mask, and I believe, Dave Stein. Oh, my goodness. Dave Stein, who played the Litch. That poor thing. It was so hot. It was so hot. Everyone was, like, blazing hot. Oh, well, I take it back. It wasn't really that hot, but he was wearing this heavy cape and this hat and this prosthetics and this mask. And gloves. Oh my God, he was sweating. I felt so bad for him, the poor thing. But because he was in a lot of the stuff that we shot that day. He was doing. He was in all the scenes, not all the scenes, but he was in makeup all day. So. But I know that Dave is also, I believe. An executive producer on the Litch. Oh, and Kirsten Diebold. Yeah, that's my friend, Kirsten. She was an associate producer, and she did kind of a lot of jobs on that film that day. And, but I was really excited to see, obviously not on the same day as I was working on the Litch, but Tom Sizemore got roped into doing a cameo.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
And Genevieve Rossi, my friend, in it,
we'll
and she plays
next week.
Oh, that's wonderful! I think I may have seen something about that. I think you might have posted that. Oh, and Elizabeth Daly, who is one of my favorites from the '80s. Of course, Valley Girl, right? Mm-hmm. Does everybody remember Valley Girl?
Yeah.
Oh,
yep, absolutely.
Here. But yeah, Valley Girl, she was in that. She had a great character in that. That was with Nicolas Cage. For those out there who don't know Valley Girl, yes, the good old the '80s films, my favorites.
Mm-hmm. Oh well, I grew up in the '80s, so yeah.
Well, yes, I did too, and yes, I've been really busy. I had a very busy year last year, and this year is already busy. Last year I went to London twice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to work on one of the films that I went over there for was There's No Such Thing as Zombies.
I like that.
It's a fun film. That was directed by Eddie Bemeke, and my very good friend Michael Haberfellner wrote it. And Lynn Lowry and I both star in the film.
Oh, great!
Yeah, Lynn. Yeah, and it's a fun little film. That was a great group of people. I love those guys. Also, I went back again to do a short film called Espresso to Die For, and it was the same group of people, Eddie Bemeke directing, Michael Haberfellner writing, and Lynn Lowry and I starred in that film again together, and that one's going to be really funny. I can't wait for that to be completed.
Yeah,
and I'm
looking forward to it. Go on. What are you doing? No, I'm sorry.
I'm going back in February to work on another film.
Which film's that?
I think I'm supposed to not tell. But it's also Eddie Bemeke and Lynn Lowry. I think I'm okay to say that much, but I think it's kind of hush hush. So I better not.
Gotcha. Yeah, we don't want you to get in trouble.
Yeah. No, yeah. I don't want Eddie. I don't want Eddie to beat me when I go over there, flog me,
Right.
take me to the Tower of London and behead me.
It would be fitting for Without Your Head, though.
What? Oh yeah, I know. I'm on the right track, right?
That's true. If that's the plan.
Right.
So fun. But let's see. What else?
You and Lynn Lowry seem like you're doing a lot of work together.
We are. I am so fond of Lynn, and we've become friends. And in fact, there's a film that there's a script that I was writing, and I told the director Eddie Bemeke about it, and my good friend Michael Haberfilmer, who has a website called Search by Trash, and he does tons of interviews of all sorts of people in the industry, and he so now he's got a couple films that he's written that have actually been made and come out, and so I was telling them about my outline for this thing. I can't tell you the title of it because I think that's also secret, but
sure.
It's something I had been working on, and it's supposed to be a female buddy movie. So I was telling Eddie about it and Michael, and they loved the story. And then we told Lynn about it because we had the idea, well, hey, let's put Lynn and I, because I'll be starring in it. So let's put Lynn as me and her, as the lead roles. So we're working on that. Michael and I are writing the script right now. We've been working really hard. Eddie Bemeke also is writing it with us, but he's so busy with this secret film that I'm going to go over to London for in February. So we've been working on it, but it's going to be great. We're going to film it in Las Vegas, and we're projecting that we should be able to do it this year, like in the late summer, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Sure. Is the food good in England?
They were feeding me. Eddie and his I call her his wife. I mean, they're going to get married. They're not married yet, but they just had a baby, and they're vegan. So I've been a vegan on and off for more than a decade. I try to stick to it. I can't, sometimes I kind of fall off the wagon with it, but I don't eat a lot of meat at all or animal products, but to be strict about it, sometimes I can't quite stick with it. But anyway, they're strict vegans. So it was wonderful because, they were feeding me all sorts of great vegan dishes. And after shooting, there's no such thing as zombies. We all went to a local pub, which was really fun. I can't remember the name of it now, but so I did get to experience going to an authentic English pub. Mm-hmm. And then when I was there to shoot Espresso to Die For with Lynn Lowry, she came over to just hang out with us. We were going to go to the Tower of London, but Lynn came over with 2 bottles of wine, so we were all just sitting down, having wine, eating vegan victuals, and just having a good time, just chatting. So we never did make it to the Tower of London.
Yeah,
you'll have to go there next time, though. It's a lot of fun. It really is.
Oh yeah, were you there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You gotta just go to see the crows. The ravens walk all over the place, and there's one dude that just goes around and tosses raw meat to the ravens, and they call him the Raven Master. Yeah, they just walk around. They're so used to people that they just you can walk right up to them, and some of them are huge. They go up to your knee. It's awesome.
Oh my God! What?
Yeah. So
Are they?
you'll have to go there next time.
Are they seriously that big? Where they're really
Some of
going
them
up
are
here?
massive. Yeah, some of them
Oh
are really
my
huge.
God!
But they're so used to people, like none of them fly away. They're watching you. They're like, hey, how's it going?
And they're carnivores.
Oh yeah, yep. They're like
Well, really?
big ass ravens. Yeah.
Wow. You know what? I gotta see this.
Oh yeah. Yep. I think I enjoyed that more than the actual tower itself, which was pretty cool. But just to see that on the outside, it was really neat.
So was Queen Elizabeth there? Was she beheading people?
I wish. We missed out on all that fun stuff.
Oh, God. Well, let's go back. When were they doing all that? Was it the 1700s or the 1600s or?
Probably.
I don't know.
Yeah, probably forever there.
Well, when did they stop? When were beheadings? When were beheadings finally out of fashion? Do you guys know?
Question.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to bring them back. But no, I don't know.
Really, it's so exciting. Yeah, we've got our what do you call it? The mixed martial arts something, and in the cage fighters, and they're in there and they're beating each other to a pulp. There's a lot of people that really should be beheaded. A lot. Yeah.
All right.
Right?
Yeah, we'll get on this. We'll try to bring this back.
Yeah. And you guys with without your head, you already have fear.
Yep,
exactly.
That's true.
We're ahead of the curve.
Yep, that's right.
So let's see.
I did real quick though. I did cheat and I looked it up here. The last beheading was in 1747.
See, I had a feeling. So
you had said the 1700s.
Yeah.
Well,
then they went to hanging.
Oh.
Yeah. So if it's in the 1700s, don't they call that? If it's 1720, whatever, don't they call that the 1800s then? Right?
They call it 18th century.
Yeah.
18. Oh, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. 18th century. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. So good. See, I had a feeling it was somewhere around in there.
Exactly. So now we got that settled. Hello. Yeah. I just actually have a question here from James Balsamo. He wants to know, what was it like having your the life casting of your head?
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. I know why he's asking, because that was so funny. Okay. So I went over there and I took my shirt off. I was just in my bra because I didn't want to get my shirt all messed up. So I'm sitting on the toilet. Well, the toilet lid is down. I'm not actually going to the bathroom or anything. and James, the bathroom, the way it was situated was kind of, there wasn't a lot of room in there. And he's like straddling me and, just, and Kirsten was in there too. So they're both in there and they're just got this goo like all over my head and face, and it was fun stuff. Let's see, did they stick straws up my nose? I think I actually might have had tissue paper or something up my nostrils. I can't remember, but it was fun. And they were making me laugh so hard, and I was trying not to laugh, but we were actually having a blast. We were having so much fun, and I can't remember exactly what we were laughing at, but we were having the best time just, being over there and him, slathering this stuff on my face, and it was dripping, and it was just so funny.
Right.
But
and it's serious. And seriously though, I think the fact that he is humorous and has a good time, it helps something like that go by quicker. Like otherwise could have been, maybe a bad experience. But if he's joking around, it makes it, enjoyable or tolerable anyway.
Oh, I love James. He was so much fun to work with. I swear, he's just, and Okay, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to tell this part, but I think it's okay. So I was asking him, okay, James, send me over the script, because he told me the basic outline of the story and told me my character and all that. And we talked about my character. And then I'm like, okay, send me the script. And he never did send me the script. I'm like, you never sent me the script. So I get to this, and I think he said, oh, don't worry, we'll have a script on set. I said, okay, no problem. So, I mean, I kind of knew basically what I was going to do. So, so we get there, and I'm like, okay, where's the script? There's still no script. So he said, no, but here's your lines. You know, he had the pages. He had the pages for my lines. But a lot of it was improv, you know, because there was a lot of it that it was great. It worked out great because Dave Stein, who plays the Litch, and we have this scene where we're dancing, like, you know, as if we're at a ballroom. So we have this little like flirtatious thing going on between my characters, Sabella and the Litch, and so so we were just coming up with this stuff to say, and it was really fun. And I said, James, you never gave me a script. He says, well, nobody can remember their lines anyway. And I said, well, so, you know, I'm used to, you know, where you have to know your lines or you're in big trouble. You know, people get very upset with you, but I thought it was great. I loved doing improv. And of course, a lot of it was scripted, but I loved it because I have an improv comedy background. I was at an improv comedy group called the Wild Side Theater. Sam Longoria was the director and ran it, and that was his theater. And that was in North Hollywood back in the 90s. So I was there for a while. So I love improv.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we had Sean Whalen on last week, who worked with the Groundlings before he got into horror and movies. And I asked him, like, that having that background, how does that help you in like a dramatic movie or a horror film or acting in general?
Oh, you're asking me, or you're saying that you asked him?
Yeah, well, I asked him the same question, but I'd like to, ask you the same thing.
I love that guy, Sean, right? Sean Whalen?
Great. Yeah, he's
just a sweet guy.
I think I met him. It seems to me I met him. Yeah, I did. I met him at a convention. I think it could have been a Monster Palooza that I was at. I can't remember. I know I met him briefly somewhere. Anyway, he was really nice. But actually, if having strong improv skills really helps no matter what type of film you're doing, whether it's a drama or comedy or horror or whatever it is. Because what it does is it makes you think outside the box. And, I think one mistake that beginning actors have, once you get to be a professional, I think most people, don't have this problem any longer, but is that they just kind of stick to what the surface of what you're reading. You read the script, you read your lines, you figure out your character. But when you have, the ability to improv things and just come up with things. So like a lot of times people get locked into like a certain way of doing it. So let's say I'm playing a mom and I have a teenage daughter that's having a problem or whatever. And so the surface is the daughter's pregnant and having a problem. Well, that's very simple and cut and dry. But what you really want to do is you want to think about like if the mom's saying, "Oh, don't worry, darling," or "Don't worry, sweetheart, we're here for you." When you're rehearsing, when you go to actually shoot the scene, you want to do it as it's written. But when you're rehearsing with a partner, if you're lucky enough to rehearse. A great technique to do is to do the scene with your partner, to do it like totally, completely not the way it's supposed to be. Like if you have somebody dying on their deathbed, you do it as a musical. You sing it. You do it as a comedy. You do it as a completely over melodramatic, whatever. And then when you go back to do it for real, the way you're supposed to do it, you have more of a kind of a rich, feeling, or you know what I'm trying to say, right? Because then when you go to do it, you'll have done it all these different ways, and you'll have done it like the opposite way that it was actually, that you're actually really going to do it. But it kind of frees you up so where you're not so locked in to a specific performance. So it gives you more of a creativity. So when you go to do it, you're actually more creative when you're in the moment. You know what I'm saying, right?
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah. So if you have a good, strong improv background, it just gives you that skill where you just know how to like do stuff off the cuff. And of course, all those, they call them happy mistakes or happy accidents, where the actor, like somebody like Jack Nicholson, will be doing a scene and he'll just improv something. He'll just say something like, the famous line, "Here's Johnny."
Mm-hmm.
The story,
Of course, from Shining.
Yeah, that wasn't in the script. He, apparently they had done that scene over and over and over and over. And so, and then in this one take, he just smashes his head through and is like, "Here's Johnny," Okay, so that was not in the script. That was improv, but that came out because they did it a bunch of times, and then something like pure genius comes out. Of course, everybody knows that scene. Everybody knows that line. "Here's Johnny," right?
Oh,
of course, iconic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's iconic, and there's so many of those. That's the only example I can think of, like right at the moment.
Sure,
but
sure.
I know Bill Oakhurst, who's coming on. He's a very creative actor. He's brilliant. He takes, he really he plays a lot of, I wouldn't say the same character, but I would say he's got a certain kind of, people want him in their movies because of what he brings to those kind of bad guy characters or creepy guys or whatever, however you want to call it. But he's so creative that no one of his characters are alike, So you've got like, say, 10 movies where he's a slasher and he's, whatever he does in these movies, he's the evil guy, whatever. But, he goes in there and he has, each one of his characters is a real character unto itself. Whereas, maybe a lesser actor would kind of play things the same,
Right.
Exactly.
So that's a good example of the ability to, where you have good improv skills.
Mm-hmm.
But I think all actors, when they get to a certain level, they're all automatically good at that.
Mm-hmm.
But improv comedy, though, to be really funny and to be really sharp and witty and to be like snappy and have these snappy, comebacks and things, that's not easy. That takes skill.
Yeah.
But what were you saying?
I would just say, since you mentioned Bill, who's coming up in about a half hour. So, have you ever worked with him? I know you know him, but did you ever work together in anything?
I have not. I am dying to work with Bill, and I know my friend Melantha Blackthorne. She's a friend of mine. We've been friends for years, and she's worked with Bill several times. And so I'm hoping that I will eventually get to work with Bill, because that's one of the actors I really want to work with.
Mm-hmm. So I mentioned a lot about the improv. How did you go from that to acting in movies? I know you were also a model, and what did you originally what was your original goal? Did you want to pursue comedy?
Well, when I was a kid, I took ballet from the ages of 7 to 14. I was in Portland, Oregon, teaching ballet. I really thought that I might actually go on to be a professional ballet dancer, but my mother moved my sister and I from Portland, Oregon to Los Angeles. So, that my ballet school, I wasn't there any longer, and we were actually really super broke. My mom, was really struggling, and she managed to find a guest house behind a house in Beverly Hills. So the first I went to my freshman high school year was in Portland, but then when we came to LA, then I was going to go into my sophomore year. So the first high school I went to in Los Angeles was Beverly Hills High, which was oh my God, I was the poorest kid in the school. It was really funny. I was really happy to be there, but it was I felt a little self-conscious. You have all these kids that are in TV shows all around you. You have, these kids driving Ferraris and wearing extremely expensive clothes. But besides that, it was great. I had great teachers. I was in the modern dance class, group. I was in a modern dance club, I guess you'd call it. And I was taking drama. And then the next year we moved to Santa Monica, which is also a really great school. And I went to high school with Rob Lowe and Ramiro. I'm saying his name wrong. Darn it. I'll get it later. But Charlie Sheen and who's his brother? Estevez.
Oh, Emilio
Estevez. Yeah.
Emilio. So, and I would see Martin Sheen there, and like I said, Rob Lowe was there, and he was in a class with me. And then sometimes at the time, his girlfriend was Melissa Gilbert, so she would come to the school and just hang out with him during lunch. And so there was a lot of performers there, and I was taking dance there. I was taking musical theater and drama. And then when I got out of high school, I eventually got into a school called the Van Mar Academy. And it was actually a really well-known school. When I was going to it at the time, I didn't realize it was such a well-known acting school, but it turns out it was. And so I went there for a few years. So I was studying to be an actress. I was studying acting. And then I went with some other teachers after that school. I went with some other acting coaches. But I started out very typically the way a lot of young women start out, modeling, and I danced in a handful of music videos because, I was a really good dancer from all the training. And then I was, and then I learned how to fire eat. So I was a fire eater. And then,
wow.
Yeah. So I was fire eating in some of the music videos. I in a lot of my very first films that I was in, I was like a dancer and fire eater in a couple of them.
Uh-huh.
So, and then I eventually actually kept turning down jobs like that. Like people would call me, wanting me to come and dance in the movie and do the fire eating. And I just kept turning parts down. For quite a while, I turned a lot of things down. And I said, well, when you have something for me that's more of a, co-starring role.
Yeah, like an actual role. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was getting to be kind of pigeonholed as a fire eater. Oh,
yeah, you
but
don't want to be typecast as like the fire-eating dancer.
eventually I did get out of all that, and I was getting like co-starring and leading roles in a lot of films. But the one cool thing is, do you guys know that I'm in Point Break?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, with the original one with Keanu Reeves and but I'm the fire eater, but it's really cool because I got hired and I'm on the set, and of course it's the director's Catherine Bigelow, and so I'm in a scene where it's a scene where the Patrick Swayze's character Bodie is having a party at his beach house.
Yep.
So and Keanu Reeves and Lori Petty come in to the house. They walk in, and right as they come in, it's me standing there with this curly, short blonde hair, like in ringlets, and I'm wearing this like leather corset kind of type thing, and I spit fire right in front of their faces. And, like jump back a little, but it was like a big fireball. So like all my friends and everybody that knows me, they're like, they've seen me in Point Break so many times because it's on TV like all the time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So you guys, next time Point Break's on TV, watch for that part.
Watch it. Yep.
It's right when they walk into the party. It's right at that very top of that scene, and you see me spit fire, and then through the rest of that part, you'll see me kind of in the background, eating fire and stuff. But the other really cool film that I ate fire in was, drum roll, please.
The other which one was that? What did you say? Sorry.
Drum roll. Where's my drum roll? Okay. Thank you. So Wild at Heart. David is Wild at Heart.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
The one with
definitely.
Nicolas Cage and Laura Dern and Harry Dean Stanton and all those great actors. So I'm fire eating in that, but it would be really kind of easy not to notice me in that one because I'm kind of in the background. It's the scene where it's the old guy, the rich old guy at this big long dinner table, and he's got two like almost naked girls standing, one's on each side of him, and it's Grace Zabrowski, I think is her name. Zabrowski. No, I'll have to look it up. And she's, I don't know, they're having this conversation. So behind them in the background, there's this jazz band playing, like a 3-instrument jazz trio. And then there's this one beautiful black dancer dancing with this really cool cape. And then I am dancing also, but I'm fire eating. Oh yeah, it's Grace Zabriskie. Oh, I love her too, Grace Zabriskie. She's in tons of stuff. But yeah, so I'm fire eating in the background. And then at the very end of that scene, right when he says, the old guy, when he says his last line, the camera goes on me and I spit this big, huge ball of fire, and they kind of amp up the sound effect to make it go whoom,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
That's awesome.
So that's cool. Yeah, but how cool is it? Even though I'm like just the fire eater, still Wild at Heart,
cool
and I
Oh yeah, that's totally badass.
Mm-hmm.
That is badass, isn't
It
it?
is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Where does one learn to fire breathe or fire eat?
My girlfriend, back when I was like 19 or 20 at the most, she had been a magician's assistant long before we were friends. She was a magician's assistant when she was younger, and his name was William Wizard, and he used to play at the perform at the Magic Castle. He was a regular there, so he did a lot of pyrotechnics. And so and this is years before, like I said, she wasn't doing it anymore when she taught me, but she taught me how to fire eat. And her husband at that time made me handmade fire eating torches. And so, yeah, and I learned how to fire eat. And then at this other thing, then at this other video that I was shooting, there was another girl there who was a friend of mine, and she taught me how to spit fire, do the big ball of fire, spitting the fire.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So she taught me how to do. Yeah, she taught me how to do that part. So So, and back then, like now, it's kind of a lot more commonplace to see people, men and women, doing fire eating and performing with the fire dancers and that whole thing. So you've got a lot of people doing that nowadays, especially with Burning Man and all that. But back then, but back then it was like really rare. Oh, yeah, I actually worked on the pilot episode of Enterprise with the one with Scott Bakula.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, my scene did cut out, unfortunately, but I did work on it, and I was in a scene. They were in one of those like shanty towns, the kind of towns where there's a bunch of bars and a bunch of hookers. But it's like, it's all like Star Trek, so it's spacey. It's very futuristic. So I had I wish I could have taken a picture, but it wasn't allowed. I had a huge head. I had an alien head. It was. It looked like the alien head from Aliens. You know how it was a big, giant dome.
Yep.
It was so cool, and they did this like body painting all over me, like these like little like specks and stuff. Like I had these, I don't know what you call it, like prints all over me. It was so cool. And then so I did the scene. I was fire eating, and it was a cool scene. But then they ended up cutting that entire scene out. So I was so disappointed. I've been cut out of some really cool things. I was cut out of I was cut out of Planes and Automobiles.
Oh, no.
No way. That's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Planes, Automobiles, or RoboCop, or both.
Well, I like RoboCop, but Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is one of my favorite movies. I think it's extremely funny. Then it's so sweet at the end and everything,
Oh, I love that movie. Oh, and I worked with John Candy and Steve Martin, and I had this big scene where I did, actually John Hughes asked if I could do this improv scene with them, because I was on set as a dancer, and it was like more toward the beginning of when I was getting into everything. So I was on set as a dancer, and he needed somebody to do an improv scene with Steve Martin and John Candy, and I had improv experience. So, I volunteered, and they went ahead and picked me to do it because there was a lot of other people there, but I got picked to do it. And then I had this really, really funny scene with John Candy, and we had, we were just having the silliest conversation ever. And then Steve Martin's character comes in, and then I start insulting Steve Martin's character, and then he gets mad, and then he makes John Candy leave. But I know why the scene got cut. And you have to say why.
Why
is that?
Why? You're not playing along. Say why.
We did the why.
Yeah, we both did the why. Maybe you just didn't hear us. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, so so because the scene was them coming into a strip club after their car burns up or whatever happens to their car. And they're coming into the strip club to make so that Steve Martin's character can make a phone call to his wife. And then so we have a bunch of dancers in there, and they did use an actual strip club for the scene. And so I was topless. There were a bunch of girls that were topless. Not everybody was topless, but and then when they asked me to do the scene, they wanted somebody to be topless to do the scene. So So yeah, all I had on was like a tiny little G-string and high heels. So it's a family movie. It's a family movie. It's a Thanksgiving, Christmas family movie. So that's why the thing got cut out, because in the end, oh wait, I got to tell you this part. So I get invited to a special screening for the movie at Paramount. So I get there and I go to the door and they hand out this sheet, whatever you call it, pamphlet or whatever you want to call it. It's got all the cast and all the crew, and my name is on it. So I figure, oh, that's so great. I didn't get cut out, because I was afraid I was going to get cut out.
Right.
So when I go in, I sit down, and it just so happened that a man behind me said, hey, I recognize you. You're the girl in that really, really funny scene. And he just went on to tell me just how funny it was and how much he loved the scene. It was so funny. So I'm like, oh, I was so excited. I thought, okay, my scene didn't get cut out. I was so excited. So then we're watching the movie, and then toward where my scene was supposed to be, well, it wasn't there. And then the movie ends, and the guy behind me, he was an editor. He worked as an editor on the film. And he said, I'm so sorry. I had no idea that it ended up getting cut. And he was disappointed for me. And so then I go out in the parking lot, and I was like crying. I'm like, it was such a big break. So anyway, that's the story. I got cut out of RoboCop too. But those are the breaks, that.
Yeah, I was just saying, when you get cut out of something, do you ever get any of the material that's been cut out just so you can keep it, or is it just it's just gone?
That's a good question.
You might be able to do that on a small independent film, maybe.
Right.
I've never heard of anybody being able to do that, but especially not a studio film, not one of the big blockbuster films. They're not gonna.
So they just go away forever. Like nobody keeps.
Well, now you get films where you get the deleted scenes, like in a DVD. There'll be the deleted. There'll be special. They'll have special clips or whatever, or extras. They'll have the extras. Or and bloopers and all that, but back then I don't think they were really doing that. They
probably didn't think about it.
Yeah, that's too bad, actually.
Well, you know what? People did find my deleted scene from RoboCop, the original RoboCop. Yeah. It's like I can never find it, and then somebody found it for me, and I don't know what happened to it. It's like, and then one time I put a post on Facebook saying, "Can anybody find that damn deleted RoboCop?" But it's a scene where I'm in one of the commercials that say, "I'd buy that for $1."
Oh, okay, yeah. Actually, that's some of my favorite parts of the movies.
All those ads, yeah.
Well, what happened was Paul Verhoeven, was shooting the commercials, and I was in one of them where the guy that says I'd buy that for $1 is there, and me and this other girl were at a pizza, at like a pizzeria. So we're pounding like balls of pizza dough, and so during in the middle of one of the where he was like fixing lights or moving the camera or doing something. So it was a little break, but we were just still standing there. So I had these pizza balls. So I started juggling pizza balls, pizza dough. I was juggling the pizza dough. And he sees me doing that, and he's like, "Oh yeah, do that." So, so in the deleted scene that is out there, I don't know where it is now. Somebody will find it. Somebody listening to this show will find it for me. But you can actually see me. Oh, and of course I'm topless.
That's always a plus. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a rule.
Well, all the girls in the commercials for I'd buy that for $1. They're all
Right.
topless, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyway, that is fun. That's just fun stuff. And I just have such a good time working on films. Of course, I've worked very hard. I've had a lot of training. So I really enjoy when I can put that training to good use and have a good juicy role. But I enjoy, whatever it is, drama, comedy, horror. I really do love it all.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun.
How about
that's
the working, but what kind of movies do you like to watch?
I like all kinds. Let's see. My favorite really, really scary films, horror films are not scary to me. There's a lot of them I do like, but I don't actually get like really scared, except for the films that still scare me to this day, of course, is The Exorcist. And the other one is the original Amityville Horror. For some reason, that original Amityville Horror with Margot Kidder and what's his face, Brolin, James Brolin.
Yeah, James Brolin. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That just always scared the bejesus out of me. But I love everything. I love. I just saw I, Tonya.
I did too, which I thought was great.
I loved it. Oh my God, I loved it. But I also really loved Suicide Squad. I really love the superhero movies. I know some people think they're like too Hollywood, they're too slick, they're too CGI, but I do. I love the new Star Trek movies, with Chris Pine and
I love those too.
Those are, oh my God, that first Star Trek with Chris Pine and I don't know all the actors' names, but you know the one. And the guy who plays Bones. Oh, he's so perfect.
I love that guy too. Urban, something Urban.
Oh yeah, that's him. And then the guy who plays Scotty, what's his face from the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that. And the movie that Simon Pegg did, the zombie one. What was it called?
Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead. Love that movie.
And I liked the one where they pick up the alien. It's Bruce Willis playing the alien. Whatever that one's called.
I really liked. Yeah, both Troy and I went to see it at the theater. I like that one too. It's not as popular as some of the other ones, but I liked it. Yeah, and I also like Todd.
It's the alien's name. Too. Hot Fuzz is great. Yeah. Hot Fuzz from Simon Pegg.
Yeah. And I love like Scarface and Casino and Goodfellas and give me
you're all over the place with good stuff.
Give me a good gangster movie. I love blood and guts.
100%.
Sex, violence, and lots of swearing. So
years ago on
movies with Neil and I, then you'd be
fine. Yeah, years ago, actually, we had Henry Hill on the show, the real guy that Goodfellas is about. It was very exciting to have him on the show. Yeah.
You had Henry Hill on the show?
Yep.
Yeah, it was like I think a couple years before he died.
Yeah, maybe just a year before he died, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wow, that's so cool. That is so cool.
He was a really interesting guy too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, you know what? One of my favorite things that I worked on is I had just a tiny part. I was just a dancer in it, but it was called Out Cold, and there's a lot of films called Out Cold, but this one starred John Lithgow and Terry Garr. This is a long time ago. Well, this is a very long time ago. Yeah, so I get to the set. It's up in the mountains, and Out Cold's a comedy. It's really funny. So I get to the mountains, and I get up there to the set, and it's at this lodge, and I see John Lithgow on the porch, and I love John Lithgow. So I see him, and I literally ran. I don't know what came over me because I'm just not. I'm not a starstruck person. I don't get like overly excited about celebrities or movie stars or anything like that. I'm not somebody that wants anybody's autograph. But I really love John Lithgow. So I saw, and I like ran up the stairs, the steps of the porch, and I literally threw my arms around him and gave him a big hug, and I like grabbed him, and Terry Garr at the door. Terry Garr's coming. I almost knocked John Lithgow over. I almost knocked Terry Garr over. And I said, oh, I love you. I said, I love you. And I grabbed him. And then I thought, oh my God, he's going to call the security. But that's so cute. He totally laughed. He laughed, and then and he was so nice. And Terry Garr, oh my God, they were so nice. So later that night, after we'd been shooting, we were all sitting there eating dinner, and I was sitting right across from Terry Garr, and right next to John Lithgow was, I think, right there pretty much. And they were just the nicest, sweetest people. Oh, that was like, oh my God, they treated me like a queen. I basically was a glorified extra, and they treated me like a queen. I had my own trailer. I was paid like so well, it was like so awesome. And Randy Quaid's in this movie too. And he was
cast in that movie.
Yeah. So anyway, if anybody wants to find Out Cold, you'll see me in the background dancing in one of the mountain lodge scenes.
Very cool. Well, I love having you here, but we do have Bill coming up here in just 2 minutes. So,
Yay,
but we would love to have you back on sometime. Maybe when your secret movie comes out, you could come on and tell us about it.
Mm.
Yeah, I have a couple of secrets that I'm dying to share.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, so you'll definitely have to have me back.
Yeah, exactly. We'd love to have you back. So it's been a pleasure talking to you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. You're wonderful. I had a great time.
We did as well.
Anytime you'd like to come back. Yeah.
And the next time I'm going to ask you for what's the worst pun that James Balsamo has ever told you?
Okay, I'll ready for that one. I'll have to think of it. But well, ciao.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ciao. All right. Bye.
Hey guys, this is Bill Overs Jr., and you're listening to Without Your Head Horror, the station of decapitation. Keep your head. Stay tuned.